Hello and welcome to Radio DCP. I'm your host Adam, and not here on the phone today is the Rum Guy, who is probably working right now. This is going to be kind of an interim episode because the Rum Guy and I have such conflicting schedules. But part of the reason that the Rum Guy isn't on is because I wanted to bring on someone who was a previous guest of the show, but due to situations with life, was only able to be on for a few minutes, maybe a half hour. Very close friend of mine, Mr. Josh. Do you want me to use your last name?
Sure, why not?
Josh Shagoy.
Oh, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing fine, and this is you just got on Skype for the first time to make this attempt. And so this is going to be a learning experience for you. You're someone who's had an interest in podcasting in the past, but you've never actually got to sit down and try it.
That's correct.
So originally you were going to be my co-host for this show, but you and your lovely bride had to move to Orlando, and your schedule's complicated at the moment.
Exactly.
Or I guess technically at the moment uncomplicated, but probably going to get complicated again soon.
Yeah, I actually have a interview with Disney on Tuesday. I lost my job. Just going to pick up some work with Disney for the time being, and we'll see where the road takes me.
Yeah, and you've worked for Disney. This will be your fourth time, right?
This will be actually my fourth time going into Traditions.
I've only had once, and the reason that the show is called Radio DCP, people ask me on occasion, is that DCP stands for Disney College Program, which is where we both met, and it was my first time over the age of 2 years old at Walt Disney World when we met. So that's 12 years ago now, which is like a third of our lives at this point.
Yeah, Jesus, didn't realize it's that long.
Oh yeah, we've known each other that long. It's pretty scary, but we've also gone through a lot over the years. You've always lived, I guess, maybe 7 to 10 miles from me, but we didn't know each other until the Disney College Program.
Right.
We went to, you went to school with a bunch of people that I went to high school with, and, we sort of, that we're from New Orleans, and New Orleans is such a small town that you might not know everyone, but you know someone who knows someone else, essentially.
Oh, definitely.
So, I'm sure we probably have a relative somewhere in common down the line because we're both Italian.
Right.
And, but yeah, we met in January of 2002, and I was there to learn to be more social and to get away from New Orleans. And you were there at the time to tell everyone how wonderful New Orleans was.
Yeah, actually, my interest was piqued because I had a friend, mutual friend that we have now, but a friend from high school, and she had did the college program, and I haven't been to Disney World since I was a little child either, and so I didn't have any knowledge of what's going on out there. I knew all the 4 parks, everybody knows Disney, but just never had a chance to go growing up, and so I went out there, and her name's Michelle, and it just opened my eyes. I was so blown away by how many girls and how many people were having so much fun, and everybody was our age, and it just felt like it was just we were in a different world, and it just blew me away. And so she told me, I said, look, I'll give you a good reference. You go to the next meeting. So I went to UNO, which I didn't even go to school there. I was at I think Delgado at the time, but I went to UNO. Went to the meeting. I'm assuming you were at the same meeting, right?
Yeah, I think there was only like 20 of us in there.
Yeah, it was in a big auditorium, big like massive, group setting, and they went through a bunch of interviews, and the people I went with, I didn't know anything really because I don't even watch the Disney movies at that point, and I just was like, well, obviously they're there. You want to look chipper, put a smile on your face, and everybody I interviewed with in the groups, they were kind of bland, kind of boring, so I went ahead and I got that email a couple weeks later. I didn't get the invite to the dinner like you did, but showed up that day. We apparently showed up at the same time because that's how they put you in line, correct?
Right.
And the housing, and that was it. And that's how I got into the Disney College Program.
Yeah, we were, I think you were a couple of people down from me in line, or maybe you were ahead of me it was a weird thing where you start off in one line and you wait for an hour, and then you get into a larger auditorium. This is when we're actually at the Disney College program, and you get into this larger building. I think it was a reception area actually
at Vista.
Yeah, and they started splitting us off into groups. And I remember looking around to see who I was going to see. There was this guy there who I was standing in line previously and kind of keeping to myself and looking for an opportunity to try to be social for once in my life. And someone asked me where I was from, and, you and I both had the same situation where we're not from New Orleans proper. We're from the suburban part of New Orleans, the greater New Orleans area, but you don't want to have to explain to someone where Harahan is, and, or Westwego. So we just say we're from New Orleans. And so people ask me where I'm from, and I say New Orleans, and then they start talking about Mardi Gras, and I roll my eyes. And this guy behind me is like, "Oh, hey, man, you're from New Orleans? I'm from New Orleans." So I was like, "Oh, that's nice." And I was thinking, I really came here to get away from you people, but okay, that's nice. And come to find out, he's actually not from New Orleans. He's from 40 miles south of New Orleans, nowhere near. And then I guess you overheard him talking to me about New Orleans. And I recall you at some point, tapping me on the shoulder. Hey, man, I'm from New Orleans, too. And I thought, man, I just can't get away from you people. Really? What? There's literally 800 girls in this auditorium, and not one of them is interested in talking to me about where they're from. But
I didn't know much. I mean, you're the same as me. We did not travel at all. I mean, we didn't even go out to eat fast food growing up. I mean, we grew up very poor, and so my experience outside of Louisiana was very, very marginal, and it's just, I felt a little comfort when I started noticing there was other people from the same place I was from, so it made me feel a little more comfortable in that area, because I was a little nervous being in somewhere I've never been before, and I had a set group of friends, and I'd have to make all new friends, and I didn't really honestly know what to expect, so catching a few people from our hometown, or at least they were saying they were from our hometown, it gave me a little bit of reassurance. I was going to be, all right.
Well, that's perfectly normal, but you know me, I've always been this way. I'm not a New Orleans person. I live here, my family's from here, but I'm not excited to talk to anyone about New Orleans, and especially when I hear someone from out of town want to talk about Mardi Gras. I have I kind of shut down, and I had nothing against y'all. I just thought, this is not why I came here, but I do remember looking around and I saw you, and you were right next to a gentleman in a baseball cap.
Damn.
There was a large black gentleman, by large I don't mean tall. He was like me. He was a little hefty.
Mm-hmm. Big bone.
And I think one other person, and I remember the line split up, and then we got our room assignments, and I actually walked around the complex looking for our building. Our building was right next to the auditorium we were in, literally facing it. And I circled around, and I finally found it. I went upstairs, and you're like, "Oh, hey, man, you here too?" And we ended up roommates, and it turns out that all those guys, the guy in the baseball cap, the large black guy, and two other people were, that was our room, and we were all just kind of standing next to each other, and it worked out fine for you and I, in the long run, but right. It was just, it's interesting though, like I said, we've always been kind of a hair's breadth apart throughout most of our lives, and then one day we end up rooming together in Florida, and it's just an interesting way to start a friendship.
Yeah.
And since then, we had a lot of adventures there. We met people, we met girls from one end of the country to the other, or a few from out of the country. Mm-hmm. Your friend Michelle was good friends with a lot of the South African girls.
Yeah, that's how I knew them previously before we got there.
And they all worked out in Animal Kingdom on what ride was it?
The Safari.
Yeah, you unfortunately got the short end of the stick when it came to assignments for jobs. Yeah,
well, when we were in that auditorium, they were giving out the jobs, and I distinctly remember I asked for the position to drive the monorail, and they asked me if I like baseball. I said, no, can't stand it. They were like, oh, good, we're going to have you over here pressure washing after the baseball games. I was like, all right, whatever, And, but then I remember you came in right behind me and asked for the same job, right?
Actually, the funny thing was, I didn't think they gave college program students that job. So when she asked me what I wanted to do, I laughed out loud and I said, well, if you want to know, I want to go drive the monorail. And then I gave her like a more serious answer, and I don't even remember what it was. I think I probably said, somewhere in the hotels or, maybe photography, something like that. I don't know. I literally, they said give us 3 choices. And the 3 choices I gave her, I got down to 2, and I was like, I don't know, pick something. And when I got there, it turned out that, I was driving a monorail.
Yeah, I wasn't very happy about that. Yeah.
Well, to be fair though, I didn't last that long. I only lasted
Right.
a couple months, and then I got kicked out and exiled to Toontown, where I was a merchantainer, which is still to this day one of the most hated jobs I've ever had in my life. I remember distinctly the counter was just low enough on my body that I had to not bend over, but my back was kind of angled. So every day when I would come home from work, my back would just be in utter pain. But it maybe not as bad as what you had to go through.
Yeah.
With the pressure washing and the
all night.
But you had a good time. You made you're still friends with Keenan, right?
Actually, all 3 of them. Well, no,
really?
I'm sorry, 3 of the 4 that I was with, I still actually talk to. So
Yeah.
the only guy, you remember the guy from New York, Mike, I think his name was?
Was that the tall guy?
No, that was Justin. He's from Texas. I still talk to him as well. It's just Mike from Rochester. He's the only one I don't talk to. I do
remember that guy. Was he kind of skinny and about average height?
He's the one that passed out at the Waffle House.
Oh, that was a good story. You want to tell that story?
Yeah. So, well, we're excited. If we find order of occurrence here, I said we could go back to we'll get to that point, I'm sure.
Okay. Well,
preview for the people listening at home.
Well, I got monorails for a long time. Your roommate, who we all had nicknames. I don't remember who gave who what. I remember your roommate Dan, who I think I was the one that started calling him Buffalo because he would always introduce himself with this weird pickup line. He would say, "Hey, I'm your favorite new kid. Call me Danny." Wait, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. "Hey, I'm Dan. I'm from Buffalo. I'm your favorite new kid. Call me Danny." And he would tell that to people every time he met them, particularly girls, which I always thought was strange because I remember thinking, we're about 20 years past or maybe not 20, but 10, 12 years past the New Kids on the Block being a thing. I'm not sure what kind of girl is going to be like, "Oh, you have a name like one of the New Kids on the Block? Well, I immediately have to take you home and bed you." But he would always introduce himself that way. And you and him ended up immediate roommates because the way our room was set up was we had a suite where there were 3 bedrooms, 2 people per room. I was with Ray, who was the black guy from Louisville that I mentioned earlier, who was a really nice guy except for his unbelievable snoring. And I ended up sleeping on the sofa because I literally could not get to sleep if he was in. Well, actually, I barely got to sleep on the sofa because he was so loud. And Buffalo, would you like to tell the story of how we got to really know Buffalo in all his glory?
No, you go ahead. I'm actually I'm a little hazy on some of these topics. I can't remember 5 years ago, barely.
Well, Buffalo had his hat on the entire time we knew him.
Yeah.
And one day, this was like 3 days later, and we hadn't seen him without his hat on, and we weren't really thinking, I don't think any of us was really paying attention to the fact that he never took his hat off, because it was still pretty new, and we were experiencing new things and meeting new people. And then one day, right in front of us, he takes the cap off, and he's bald as can be, and not like me, shave your head bald. Like, he has a ring around his head. The guy's, he's 21. Well, he didn't have the mullet, but it's same kind of ring, and he's like 21, 22, and he's bald as can be, and we all sort of backed up and gasped, because, not because we were frightened by it, but because he hadn't bothered to mention it. He hadn't bothered to take his hat off where we would have found it natural. Just one day after knowing him for a certain amount of time and thinking of him like visually as one person, all of a sudden, oh wow, you're really bald. And I just remember we all kind of took a step back and we're like, oh, what Oh, hey, nice look for you,
Did not even look like the same guy.
No. And, I mean, you get used to it pretty quickly, but like I said, I always felt bad about that because I remember being somewhat horrified for that first second. But you and him got along really well.
Yeah, especially at the beginning.
I guess in the middle, not so much, but in the beginning.
Yeah. Was he the one I threatened to throw off the third floor balcony?
Yes.
Oh, okay, all right. It's vaguely coming back. So,
yeah. Well, it involved a certain girl who was from, she was from somewhere north of here. She was
Bogalusa.
Bogalusa.
Oh, yeah. I called her fat when she was like 102 pounds.
If that.
If that, yeah.
She was super skinny. He was just really into this girl from the backwoods of Louisiana. And you made a joke, and you didn't say it like, hey, you're fat. You just made some sort of joke that indicated that she was overweight, and she got really, really offended, probably because she was probably anorexic, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, probably.
And he came up to you later and was like, hey, man, that's not cool. You shouldn't say that to a girl, man. It's not, you just, I really like that girl, man. You might have messed it up for me. And you and him got into a fight that did end with you, threatening to throw him off the balcony.
Yeah, that was fun.
I was amused. I mean, I kind of understood where she was coming from, but at the same time, it was a joke. Get over it, And he didn't even end up with that girl. He ended up sleeping with some girl because he was in ticketing over at Downtown Disney back when there was still a Downtown Disney.
Yeah, that was a good job. He had a great job.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't like his hours because he was, 11 o'clock till like 4 in the morning?
No. He would go in around 6 and he'd get off around 2:30 because Pleasure Island closed at 2 o'clock. So he would be off around 2:30. He'd be home for 3, and I would stroll in around 4 because the games I worked usually didn't get over to about 7. So our 8 hours usually start off around like 7 o'clock, 7 to 4 in the morning. And we didn't even have the bus that the normal cast, has going to all the parks,
right,
or Downtown Disney. We had a separate van because there was only really technically 4 of us that worked there.
Well, you had the latest hours, but I feel like I had the worst schedule just because mine would either end at 2 in the morning or start at 5 in the morning.
Yeah, we didn't have anything that was early. Everything we had was super late.
But I never knew from week to week which one I'd be getting. Some weeks I would, get us. Well, actually, I almost never got a comfortable 8 to 5 or 6 shift. I almost always got first thing in the morning or last thing at night on monorails. And don't get me wrong, not a hard job. Physically, probably the most active I've ever been as far as a job, but not really hard. And on some level, definitely fun. But it was kind of tough on me having this schedule that was never stable.
Right.
All the other monorail kids, because I want to say there was 5 other people who were picked for monorails, and they all kind of got their own little sweet spot schedule. One guy, I don't know what he did, but one guy got the monorail Lagoon line, which is the one that goes to the 3 hotels around the Magic Kingdom, and nobody else got that job but him. And then another guy got the Epcot line, which is kind of the easiest because there's only 2 stops, and it's the longest monorail line. But I was always on Magic Kingdom, I forget what the main line is, but the one that goes straight from
Express.
Yes, the Express that goes from Ticket Transportation Center to the Magic Kingdom port. And it's the one where you might get 50,000 people in 3 hours going through your setup. So it's a little, and I guess it was one of those things, and I know you've experienced this often in your life where you worked really hard, and so you got punished with the awful position because the other people were going to be lazy and slow.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure you picked up a little bit of the slack over at the Wide World of Sports.
Yeah, that's actually why me and Keenan, he was from Chicago, still talk to him as well. We both seemed a little more go-getter than the other 2, and we ended up, because we ended up having to do the top deck of the baseball stadium, and inside the Milk House, which is the indoor arena. We would always get the second floor, so we always had to lug all the equipment up to the second floor and do all those areas, all the cleaning and stuff. So, but other than that, I mean, like I said, I really wish I had a park job, especially through the college program. Would have met a lot more girls, because it was just me and a bunch of guys. And, but yeah, I really had a good time. And, like I said, all but one I still talk to this day, 12 years later.
Well, of the other guys that you work with, but not of the people that we sort of really got to know, and we'll talk about them in a minute, but because I mean, I'm trying to think of the number of people from our college program that I still talk to. I still talk to Alina, who is currently working for Walt Disney World. She has since the college program, so wow, she's been there over a decade.
Mm-hmm.
I still talk to, every once in a while I hear from Heather, one of the girls from our sister room downstairs. You ended up dating her roommate Amanda.
Right.
Briefly. And that might be it. You on the other hand, you talked to like 5 or 6 people, right? Well, more than that, then really.
Probably, yeah. I would say, the 3 of the guys from, Wilder Sports, and then I talk to Inga every once in a while, not very often. I talk to Janae a lot still. Nicole, who else was on that list? There's not many more outside of that. Michelle from South Africa, I just, only on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously it's a little more difficult.
Janae.
Yeah, Janae, and, well, yeah, I said her. Is that it?
I think
from
so.
The college from the college program, that's it.
Because I don't think any of us speak to any of our other roommates. I mean, James has an email address if I want to email him, but he doesn't. I don't know. I mean, he's moved on with his life, and that's fine. I don't have anything against him or anything like that for it, but he's the only one that I've attempted to contact. Sling Blade, I don't ever try to talk to. That was James's roommate. Dan, I don't think anybody even knows where he is.
No, I haven't heard from him since the day I left.
I haven't heard from him probably in about 10 years.
I still talk to Amanda on Facebook.
Right. Yeah, she's busy with a kid now, but yeah, she is on Facebook. But other than that, that's probably about it. But I mean, you kept a good number of people. I mean, truthfully, you're the only one that I talk to steadily, though. Heather pops in every once in a great while, but she's doing whatever. The rest of them, no, I don't hear from any of them. And I mean, I talked to a few of them for a good 4 or 5 years off and on.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Oh, Julie Conkle, still talk to her.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, it's Facebook. If it wasn't for Facebook, I probably would just be keeping in touch with you. But the fact that Facebook makes it so easy to keep in touch with everybody. Before Facebook, I got on, cause I was a late bloomer to Facebook. I waited till the very last second. I just didn't see a point for me to get it. But eventually, when it came down to certain meetups and certain sports venues that I used to play with, they would always add their schedules and do the meetups and stuff all through Facebook. So I was forced to join, and then I was like, oh man, this is great. It's easy to keep in contact with a lot of people to where it's not as formal. It's just because it's a little more. I'm not gonna go call these guys out the blue. And say, hey man, how's it going? Just I haven't seen you in 8 years. It is those phone calls people don't really make, but with Facebook, I mean, people will post stuff about their life, and then you talk to them about it, and then, this, that, and the other. So, I was invited to, all their weddings too, Justin and Keenan's wedding, but I didn't get a chance to make either one, so.
Well, Keenan was getting married in, what was it, Jamaica? Mexico. I
really wanted to go because he had a good deal with prices, but it just at the time I was actually saving for my own wedding, and that would have been $2,000. I just didn't have it. So and Justin, I kind of kicked myself for that one because he got married in Texas. I could have drove there, but I was single at the time and just didn't do it. So
right,
bad excuse.
Well, I'm sure it's not that big a deal, but yeah, I mean, it's cool that you've stayed in contact with them to the point where they do invite you to the wedding.
Yeah.
And, cause I mean, that was, a lot of the college program was about establishing relationships, which, in effect is a lot of why I love Disney is I always say the people that complain about Disney that don't have a good time and say, oh, it's overrated, are the people who went there with the wrong people. They they tried to rush through it. They were just like, oh, well, I better go and just try Disney World, and it's probably overrated, and they just go in with the wrong attitude. But we had really kind of a unique relationship with it, where so many of my favorite memories from my life are tied up in that place.
Yeah, no, me as well. I don't, like I said, I would be probably a different person, if it wasn't for that part of my life, so. Yeah, it definitely took me a lot to come back to reality when I came back home. So.
Well, I doubt you would have ever left New Orleans. You're living in Orlando now. I don't think you ever would have left New Orleans like on a real basis if you hadn't gone to the college program.
That's probably good. Yeah, you're probably right. I mean, I remember my first week there. I was having fun and meeting people, but at the same time, I was like just torn, miserable, because I being away from home for the first time, not being around my mom, definitely I'm a mama's boy, and it didn't sit well with me, and I wanted to go home. I said to myself, I'm gonna give myself 2 weeks. If I still feel this way by the end of the second week, I'm just gonna pack up and quit and go back home. And but by the end of that second week, I started, making more friends, and that's when I started talking to Amanda a lot more, and we met Janae at that time, and I think we met them at a party or something.
Actually, we met both those girls in the first week. I don't remember which ones we met first. I want to say it was Amanda's group. Yes, you met Amanda on the way up the stairs. As I recall.
I followed her butt up. She had a nice butt, so I followed her up the stairs and followed her to her room and asked her if she needed any assistance, because I noticed she was there moving her stuff up by herself. So I was like, oh, here's your in. So I helped her move her luggage up, and then I told her what room I was in. She told me to come back and visit sometime. So there it was. Boom.
Yeah. And the rest is mostly a history of yelling. But
yeah.
Y'all sure did like to fight.
Yeah.
And the Janae's group, I remember how we met them as well. I just don't remember what night.
We met them on the bus going to
Hollywood.
Yeah, one of the parks, and then we just kind of tagged along with them.
Yeah, it was Hollywood. I mean, back then it was Disney MGM. The only thing is I don't remember. I think it was like the second or third day.
Yeah.
But I didn't even know what Disney MGM was. I had heard of Magic Kingdom. I'd heard of Epcot. I had no idea there was 2 more parks at Walt Disney World, much less everything that they had.
Yeah, I didn't either. I just knew of the Magic Kingdom and Epcot.
And it's interesting. There's a woman that I'm trying to get on the show who's a customer here at BSI. Her name's Kristen Dahl, who is a Disney specific, or I guess really more Orlando in general, but she works for a Disney travel agency. And I know you've tried to get into that game as well. It's a little hard to get into when you don't have money just laying around to, or somebody to support you while you build your clientele.
Right.
But either one of us would really be excellent at that job, just because, the one thing when I talk to people about not just Disney, but also Universal and Orlando in general, is that the common thread for a lot of them is that they had no idea all this was there. That, like, when I was talking to my partner Wayne about the mouse boats,
mm-hmm.
the personal 1.5 person. They're not speedboats. They're just little motorboats that you can take around the various lakes at Walt Disney World, and he'd never heard of that. He had no idea that was there. I was talking to somebody else about something. Well, for instance, when we were at Universal 2 months ago, we found out that on the Universal Mardi Gras parade, if you're a season pass holder, you can apply to be one of the people that rides the floats.
Mm-hmm. I've applied a couple of times and haven't made it in yet.
Is it over? Is it still?
I think they have a couple more weeks. They have, I think, 2 or 3 more left. It's every Saturday from mid-February through the first week of June.
Well, I know that there's only 2 Mardi Gras probably 1 left, because I think the second to last one was last night, and I think the last one is going to be Huey Lewis and the News. But I believe that's the last Mardi Gras concert.
Robin Thicke is the last one.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Huey Lewis and the News, I think, is next week.
Yeah. I'd love to see that.
Yeah. Like I said, we've been going to a lot of them. Weezer, I know I put it on my Facebook, and I'm sure you saw it, but I was I mean, blown away how good Weezer was. But that's also my genre. My favorite genre of music is 90s alternative, and they just played so well. They sounded so good. They put on a fantastic show, and it was all free. You know, as long as you paid to get in the parks, it was all there. You know, there's no extra charge, and they played about an hour and 15 minutes after the park closes. Usually how they do it. Like, they usually have the parade during park hours and all the festivities and all the food and stuff, and it's quite a big deal. It's they put on a good show, and then when the park closes, let's say 8, 9 o'clock, that's when the concert starts, and it goes on for an hour, hour and a half or so, give or take. When you saw Gavin DeGraw there, you were there for Gavin DeGraw, correct?
Yeah, because you never heard his name anyway. I'm a big Gavin DeGraw fan. He's kind of a blues alt rock guy.
Yeah,
Although he's a little more pop these days, I think, because they're trying to bring more of a pop audience so that he his concerts will be bigger. But I started listening to him when he was really more of a blues act, and but yeah, he was really good. I'm glad that I was there to see him, but I would have loved to, if it was Weezer, if I was able to go the next week and see Weezer, I would have been just as happy, if not more so.
Yeah. Weezer was incredible. Like I said, I can't say, I put on the little survey. I made sure I did a little survey. I said, please bring Weezer back again next year. I put in bold letters. I was like, they were so good. And I've seen a lot of concerts in my day, but they really put on a good show. And a lot of bands like that, that made it big a long time ago. Sometimes you wonder, like, what goes through their head when they're playing these smaller venues, and, they don't know who's going to turn out for these things, And, because basically you're just relying on whoever's in the park to support your concert. And I got a feeling that a few of the acts that I saw, they were just there to play, collect their check, and then go, But Weezer was there, and they really went all out. And you tell that they were having fun with the crowd. It was a perfect night. I can't say enough good things.
Yeah, it's a really great experience. But you and I both have such extensive experience with all that we know about all those little ins and outs and things that people don't know are out there. I was having a conversation with my ex-girlfriend about you and Rebecca living out there, and I was telling her that your wife Rebecca, she's just having a little bit of time to adjust because she's never lived in another state, much less more than 10 miles away from her family. And she said,
how about a 1.5?
Well, there you go. And she said, well, she's probably just sad because there's not as much to do out there. And I said, what? And she said, well, if you're a Disney or beach person, sure, there's plenty to do. But if you're not, there's really nothing out in Orlando. And compared to New Orleans. And I stopped her and I said, you're wrong on a level that you can't even define. She's like, well, no. I was like, no, this isn't a matter of opinion. This is factually, you can take Disney, Universal, and the beach out, and there's still way more to do in that city and the surrounding area than there will ever be to do here. Mm-hmm. And I often evidence it by this simple fact. New Orleans is a football town. Unequivocally, no matter, you might say, oh, well, that person's into soccer or whatever, but in general, this is a football town. Everyone loves football. Most people love the Saints. Some people love LSU. It's a football town. The towns that aren't sports specific or sports oriented, like Orlando has like the Orlando Magic, the Florida Dolphins, the Miami Dolphins.
What's Miami? Like that. That's south. Tampa Bay's right west. Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, there's 3 pro teams within about 2.5 hours of Orlando. So you can take your pick on which one. You have multiple universities. University of Central Florida's big. Miami's big. Obviously, Florida State's a couple hours away. They have a pro soccer team, which New Orleans doesn't have. We have actually a pro baseball team right about 40 minutes west. Tampa Bay. I don't watch baseball, but they have pro basketball. They have everything here that they have in New Orleans. It's just they have the same festivals. They have the same things that migrate to New Orleans, migrate to Orlando. It's just Orlando's on a much bigger scale. It's so big, and that's one thing that blew my mind, especially when I moved here for the 4th time. It just makes me realize how big Orlando really is how much there is to do, and there's a lot going on. You know, it's the hardest part about what me and the wife had yesterday. She got off of work at Disney at 3:30, and we're sitting there thinking there's so many things for us to go and do. You know, most of it stuff that we're looking to do free or stuff that we're paid for with some type of annual pass. But it's the hardest part is trying to figure out what to do because you have so many options. It's like you feel like you gotta, like, we were sitting there, why don't we go to Animal Kingdom? Because we haven't been to the Animal Kingdom in probably 2 months, you know, at all. Maybe even, oh God, it was probably, did we go there when you were in town 2 months ago?
No, I went to Epcot, and that's probably it. We might have went to Hollywood Studios. The thing is, I love Animal Kingdom on a basic level, but when I'm short on time, it's always the one I skip.
Right. Yeah, for me, that's one of my favorite ones, just because I love animals and stuff. But yeah, I think it was Rebecca's family, the wife's family, was in town. So it's been since March since we've been to Animal Kingdom. So we really wanted to do something over there. Plus, I wanted to go in and check out some of the construction. You know, I like to take pictures of, you know, it's one of the things I like to do. I like to take pictures of when things are being built. Like I have original land clearing pictures when Everest was built. I have pictures when they put up the frame. I have pictures when they were putting, you know, the ride in. Excuse me. But yeah, it's
You're talking about Avatar Land at the moment.
Yeah, because there's a little bit, you can see a little bit of what's going on back there. So I just like getting those shots, you know, interesting pictures, you know. But yeah, it's just so many things to pick from. We just had a hard time deciding on what to do. So we ended up saying, well, Star Wars weekend was last weekend, so we went to go check that out. I knew they had specialty fireworks, which were unbelievable. I think they're better than, if you take Wishes and Epcot, put them together, I think the fireworks last night were better than both. It's just my opinion. They had some incredible fireworks. Fireworks I've never even seen before, like the fireworks that change colors as they burn. I've never seen that before. It was amazing, and they were all in total perfect, everything was in perfect harmony with the music, and it was an incredible show. I sent you a link last night of like 2 seconds of it, but
I'm used to you basically rubbing in my face the fact that I'm not there. So, because I was gonna try and go now essentially this weekend, but I couldn't find anyone to go with me, and I knew it would be kind of a tiring drive for me because I drive all day during the day. Mm-hmm. But I really, really wanted to go to Star Wars weekends because I haven't been since we were there in 2002.
Oh wow. Yeah, no, they had a whole stage set up there by the Hat. It was a lot going on. I said we didn't get there by the time we ate dinner at the house and time we got there, because we have an annual pass, obviously. I think it was about, say, 6:45 p.m. and the park closed at 11. So I was like, well, it's been probably 3 years since we've seen Fantasmic. So I was like, well, why don't we do that? We had a fast pass for the Tower of Terror, which is, you know, both of our favorite ride in that particular park, and so we went and did that, watched the show, and then we went to Star Wars the weekend, and it was a good night. It was a good night. But I said the fireworks, unbelievable. I got to get you out here before Star Wars weekends quits. I'm not sure when they end, but you got to get out here and see it. It's a good show, and I you know me, I never seen Star Wars, Star Trek, Star Wars, Star anything.
Yeah.
So,
which was why I was surprised that you actually went.
Yeah, well, I basically went because I heard there was gonna be fireworks, and I love fireworks. We went for the 25th anniversary of Disney Studios, and they had an incredible fireworks show that night. Incredible show. And actually, I kept the pamphlet and some of the literature from that day, I guess, as a souvenir. But yeah, Star Wars weekend, man. It was an interesting time. I mean, you'd get a lot more out of it than I would, but it was cool.
Well, I don't know. Maybe, I mean, I know you've got in-laws in town this weekend, but maybe I'll try and figure out a way to get out there. And, you know, if I might drive halfway. This really shouldn't even be on the podcast, but whatever. Maybe I'll go halfway, stay in a hotel overnight, and then drive out the rest of the way on Saturday morning, and maybe we can go to a water park Saturday and then do Star Wars weekends on Sunday.
Yeah. Look, the people listening at home are hoping and praying that you make this trip.
Yeah. We'll see. I might do it because I'm off next Monday. So, I mean, we have thousands of experiences that we could share on this podcast. It would take us a month of just podcasting daily to really go through.
Yeah.
You know, and it's what's really sad is that it is 12 years past, and so much of it kind of fades to the background of your mind because we were not much more than kids when we went there. I mean, we felt like adults because we were a little older than, so like, it was a range of, say, 18 years old to 22. And we were, well, I guess 23 because Alina was a year older than us. Well, anyway, but we were on the elder end of that. And so we felt like adults, but we were kids. We knew basically nothing. And we had no idea what the next 10 years would be like, much less the rest of our lives. And, you know, we've had so many experiences in that 10, 12 years that, so many great memories just kind of faded to the background. I started writing, back then I tried to write a little book, like a little novel or memoir about some of those experiences just so I could hold on to them. And I never got around to finishing it. But,
well, what was if you had to pick one favorite day that you had or one experience? I mean, I know what mine is, but what would you say yours was?
Offhand, it was probably, well, I don't know about a specific experience, but that weekend that you came in after you got kicked out, where we went to Ormond Beach and then Universal Studios, which might have been my first time at Universal Studios Orlando.
Oh, it was mine, yeah.
Yeah, it probably was, because, you know, Universal Studios is, 20 minutes from where we were living?
It's 8 miles, so just depends on the traffic.
Yeah, so we never went out into Orlando proper that often, but that's probably my favorite weekend. What's yours?
I was going to pick the same thing. When we went to Universal Studios, the four of us. With Janae and Nicole. I know I wasn't in the college program anymore and I was kicked out, but I think that was my favorite moment down there. Cause that was my first experience to Universal, and I love Disney, but the one thing they're missing is the high intense fast roller coasters, and I'm definitely a roller coaster junkie, and I love Universal for that reason, and when we went on some of those rides, I just simply fell in love. Plus I was with pretty much my three favorite people that were there, you know, that I met in the whole time I was there. So,
yeah, Janae and Nicole were two of the girls you were very close to from that other room.
Yeah.
And we were kind of close with most of their room. Julie Conkle was one of the people you mentioned. Mm-hmm. Kim, who isn't close to anyone anymore as near as I can tell.
No.
She's probably still friends with Janae, but, you know, she kind of stopped talking to us for whatever reason. And then the other two, Jody and Adria, were nice girls, but just didn't really spend any time around us. But those two girls, Janae and Nicole, we spent an enormous amount of time around. And Janae was probably, at least after you left, you know, cause you didn't get kicked out for doing anything really wrong. You were just trying to get your brother to come see our room after hours, and you weren't supposed to have anyone who wasn't living there after hours. So housing kicked you out, and if housing kicks you out, then Disney releases you from your college program. So it's right. Not, I don't want anyone to listen to this to think you like stole something or something like that or picked a fight. You didn't. You just wanted your little brother to.
Yeah, the thing was, he had to be over 18 or older, and he was 17. So, that was the problem. And, I wanted to bring him around. They were in town visiting Easter weekend and wanted to show him some of the girls, you know, places, and show him my place and do some fun things, you know, and, we got caught, and, I paid the price, so.
I don't know why I never really thought about this, but it had to be, probably a little bit humiliating for you just because your family went out there to visit you for a week and you ended up going back with them.
Yeah, well, obviously I did not want to go back. It killed me to go back. I cried. I don't cry very often. It takes a lot for me to cry, but I did not want to leave. I was having so much fun, and I was in such especially, you know, at that point I was talking to a girl that I was really into and stuff, and I just did not want to leave. And, you know, they didn't give me a choice. They said I could apply and get my own housing, my own place, but I knew at the time there's no way I could do that. Not with the car note I had and some of the other bills that I had at the time. But yeah, it was convenient because, they had my uncle came in with my mom and my brother, my sister, my cousin, my aunt, and, they had a motorhome. And so they actually, we rented a trailer, so I put my Trans Am on the trailer. And, we trailed it back home, and I pretty much slept the whole way back in the motorhome, so.
That was a hard weekend for me. That was Easter weekend, as I recall, and that
It
was
was.
hard.
I got fired on Easter Sunday.
That was a hard weekend for me too, because I remember
You
the
cursed in
day.
front of my aunt?
No, I didn't care about that. I actually, I still wouldn't care about that. It was your grandmother that I kind of feel bad about cursing in front of. Look, I'd never known Italians that didn't curse. It was really foreign to me. Even the women, like, y'all are a different, very different kind of Italian than I am. But in any case, no, that was the weekend that I got kicked out of monorails too. Kicked out because there's certain rules for monorails, not behavior. Well, I mean, there are behavioral rules, but there's just protocols that you have to follow, and you have a 3 strikes and you're out rule, and I just wasn't good at the job. And so on the 3rd strike, they said, well, they don't fire you, but they send you to a different department. And I remember that was the weekend that you got kicked out, and I think I came home that day having been told that, yeah, we're sending you, you're no longer in monorails. And I got home and you were like, so you were standing there and you said, yeah, dude, I got kicked out. I'm going home. I went, yeah, that's about right. But yeah, after you got kicked out, I think the person that by far and away that I was closest to was Janae. Janae and I, because Janae, and you had gotten really close about that time. Y'all were really good friends, shall we say. And then you got kicked out. And, so she was kind of upset, and I know you were upset, and she and I just started hanging out a lot. We would go to the beach or whatever, or go to the parks. And she was the person I spent the most time around. So, and she's still to this day probably the person that it makes me sad that we're not really friends. But,
Yeah.
You move on. That's life.
She's never been back either. She hasn't really left the West Coast since she lives in Arizona for the people at home. But she does not leave the West Coast. She's been to California, obviously from Arizona next door, but yeah, she does not leave that area. I'm not sure why, but
I don't either, because when I lived out in Arizona, the one thing that I definitely noticed was that she was way happier when she was in Florida. And I don't know if it was just because she was having the same experience as we were, where it was new and fresh, or if she just, some people prosper better when they're just off on their own. And, maybe, I don't know. I mean, we shouldn't be talking about her business anyway, but.
Yeah, no, I think it's people in general were happier being out there. The people that didn't, like I said, I recommended the college program to a number of people that I've my Facebook, people that were younger than me, and they've gone on to do it. And for the most part, I'd say about 90% of the people said it was incredible and best time of their life. But you have that 10% that just, I really cannot even fathom the idea of how it can't be the best time of your life. You really have to try to not, have the best time of your life.
Yeah, but I mean, it's like Disney in general, or the whole thing. You have to go in. If you go in with a bad attitude, like I don't really want to be here, and I don't want to be away from my family. I mean, I don't even know why you joined something like that in the first place. But I've met people like that. I don't know why you go out there with the mentality of, I really don't like this place, but I guess I'll give it a try. Well, you're not really giving it a try then. You're just forcing yourself to go do something that you don't want to do and looking at it from a negative perspective. But I went out there because I am widely known as someone with poor social skills. And I wanted to throw myself in the deep end and experience new things and, start being better around girls, learning how to just ask them out. And of course, I developed an instant crush on someone, so that kind of went nowhere. I didn't do very well at that, and I still don't. But yeah, I've tried to get people to go to the college program too, very often. My goddaughter is out at college right now studying to go to grad school so she can be a doctor. And I tried to convince her to go because I'm like, baby, look, you're trying to be a doctor. Once you get out of college, you will have no time. Don't rush through this and just try to, work hard. I mean, it's good to work hard and want to finish college and go to medical school, but go take a semester and go down there and just experience life, and, I don't think she responded. So I'm like, all right, well, it's your life, but it makes me sad. And, I tried to get my younger brother and one of his friends to go to college for a semester so that they could apply and go out there. And I said, look, go find out what the world has to offer. Cause if there's one thing that, I traveled more than you did as a kid. I mean, your family, your dad sadly passed on when you were not too young, but young enough, and y'all had a big family and not a whole lot of money lying around. My mom was fortunate enough to work hard and get a good job that paid not amazingly, but well enough for us to occasionally take a vacation when I was younger. So I'd seen California. I went off on my own to New York when I was 18, things like that, but I never lived off on my own. And so even though I'd seen that there's a big world out there, I don't think I really understood and experienced such a big world until we went to Walt Disney World and lived there and met people from literally around the world and said, oh, look, this is how people can be in other parts of the world. And it's an eye-opening experience. It's important for someone young, especially, the people that we talk to, we're all from here, we're all from New Orleans, and New Orleans is a small town. It has a small town mentality, and everyone has this idea that it's like this everywhere you go, and your parents lived here and died here, and you're supposed to do the same, and your kids are supposed to do the same, and then you go someplace and you have these experiences, and you go, oh no, it doesn't have to be this way. I don't have to live in this one small pond my entire life and die here. So, I think it's important, and sadly, nobody really listens to me about that. And it's not like you have to go to the Disney College program to get that, but you definitely got that where you didn't have that perspective.
Actually, I lied. I went to Disney senior trip from high school when we graduated, but we only did Magic Kingdom and Epcot. Those were the only two parks that we went to, and it was just all guys, and we stayed at the All-Star Sports.
But you were also under someone's thumb the whole time, because even though you graduated...
Oh, yeah, we went on a tour. Yeah, we couldn't even... we didn't have much availability to even just go off on our own. We followed basically a tour group, so it was... we didn't get the chance to do our own thing. Now, we did sneak out. Me and one of my other roommates, they put 4 guys in each room. We actually snuck out at night, got busted, got kicked back, sent back to our rooms, but because they had teachers walking around in the middle of the night knowing some of us were going to break out and try and go to downtown Disney or go somewhere different, so but it was good. I said that was my first time to Disney, as a child, so but that was it. I'll never forget that trip. That was a good trip. But yeah.
Yeah, it's so much of it. The perspective that it gives you on Orlando with the Disney College program is we'll always have positive perspectives on it, because so much of our trips are friends and family trips. I've been out there on my own once. In 2011, I took a 3-day trip out there, just me, and stayed at All-Star Sports and went to Epcot one day and then flew back. And but every other time it's been with you and maybe just the two of us. Like we've done weekend trips where we drove out there on a Friday and came back on a Monday or a Sunday. Bizarrely, I don't know why we did that. We were young and stupid and had money in our pockets. And then we've had trips. We had one of my favorite trips was when we got in your uncle's van and we took your brother, Steve, who was still talking to me at the same time. Your brother's friend Anthony, and was it Melody? There was at least one or two other people.
Yeah, it had to have been her at that time.
Yeah, your ex-girlfriend. And that was I think we were there for like 4 or 5 days, and it was just a fun trip. And Steve had never been out to Walt Disney World. He was one of those people. He actually drove back with me from the college program on my last day, which I'm really glad he did. There's been 2 times where I've lived out of state and had to drive back. One was Arizona. You actually helped me drive to Arizona and back, and both times I was very grateful, because I really needed somebody there to kind of deal with all of it.
Yeah, you wouldn't have made it.
Well, I didn't mean just the driving. I also meant like emotionally and all that. And Steve did the same thing. It was really hard for me leaving, and but he was one of those people that was always like, Disney's the evil empire, and I would never go to Walt Disney World and all that. And then you get to take this person or someone like that and show them and say, look, no, we have Disney, we have Universal, we have all these other things, and look, no, this is an amazing place. This is a place you will love, and they do, and you get to share that experience with them, and it's amazing.
Yeah.
But that's one of my other favorite trips, and Well, we've had so many. I mean.
Yeah, my favorite thing now, obviously we've been here, hundreds of times. I like bringing people here for the first time or showing somebody something new. That's now my new favorite thing to do. Cause, you get people that come, like Rebecca's family, they came every summer their whole lives. They were very fortunate. I was talking about my wife, and they only really did Epcot and Magic Kingdom, basically Magic Kingdom, and they never ventured out anywhere else. They were stuck on those two parks, and they would not go anywhere else. They ever so often would go over to studios, but they never gave Animal Kingdom a shot. And they were just thinking that it was just a zoo, it's nothing to do, blah blah blah. Well, anyways, when they were here, I think 2 months ago, I made them go, the mom, the grandmother, and the niece. We all went, and I got the map out, and we picked some things to do, and they were blown away. They never thought there was that much to do with Animal Kingdom, and they had a good time, but I mean, they're, I know they're, animal lovers too, so, I knew it wasn't going to be a hard sell, but they didn't know half the stuff was there. Just a lot of times people don't even realize. So, one of our next trips, I'm hoping to get them to Universal, because they've never done Universal, and then maybe one trip later, maybe go to the Legoland or Cypress Gardens. Those are other two nice little theme parks out in this area. And then from there, maybe, I was going to try Gatorland actually one weekend coming up soon, because I keep hearing a lot of stuff about that, but we'll see. But, and then one day maybe go to SeaWorld. But I'd rather see animals on land, but that's just me also being the same thing as them, just not giving SeaWorld a chance. And who knows, I might like it. Or Aquatica. Sure, I like Aquatica. That's a nice little, water park. So.
Yeah, I've heard good things about Aquatica.
I did too. I haven't gone, and living here, like I said, that just makes it more things to do that I just, when you're here and you live here, you have to work, and unfortunately for me, I have to work and I go to school at night, so my time is, limited, but, so those few days that we get a day here, a day there, or one day a week, it seems, we try and find, one of the many things to do, and usually that's where the predicament always comes in, because you always want to get in something, or you want to go see something, especially with the mine train opening up at the Magic Kingdom. We already have our fast passes, on the My Disney Experience set up, so we can go ride the mine train on the day 2.
Yeah, that's one thing about living there that you notice is you think to yourself, well, you're living there, so you have all the time in the world to do these things, but because you give yourself so much time and you're like, I'll do that later. So there's plenty of things that you never get around to doing. One of my eternal regrets will be I never went out to JFK Space Center to go see the shuttle launches.
Amazing.
And they don't happen anymore. And I could kick myself because I'm not a space nut like my friend Casey, but just the chance to sit out there and watch a space shuttle, whatever it is, hundreds of tons of metal fire into the air and leave our planet. That's
Yeah, no, I did it one time. I was lucky enough to be there.
Your dog did it as well.
And my dog, yeah, I had to bring my dog with me. But yeah, it was amazing. It was definitely something to see. They throw a festival, and there's a huge party with a band and thousands and thousands of people show up for this thing, and there's a huge part. Everybody's so friendly, and people from all over the country come, mostly Floridians, but yeah, it was an amazing night, and they keep you up to date on what's going on. There's it's very interactive. It's really cool, and just watching something, thrust off into knowing it's leaving the planet, it's something that was incredible to watch. You could actually see it when I worked here for Disney. In the past, you can actually see the space shuttle if it's at night. If it's a night launch, you can see it actually in Orlando. You can see the little ball of fire as it leaves out the atmosphere. It was a pretty cool shot. But yeah, being there, feeling it, hearing it, it was an amazing experience. I definitely glad I finally did that. I only did it once, but wish I would have done it more times when I had the chance.
Yeah, and it'll never happen again. So.
Never say never, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Are you familiar with our government and the way they spend money? Yeah. No more space shuttles for us. No more NASA. Anyway, I'm not bitter. Well, we're at about an hour, so I wanted to get a couple of final thoughts because I have to edit all this, and the BSI Comics podcast has to be finished probably today. What first of all, if you could name like three things for someone new to Disney to go and try, aside from like a theme park ride, what do you think they would be? I mean, not even Disney specifically, but just something in Orlando.
Oh man. Well, I always, just like a vacation planner, I usually ask what their interest, because I refuse to believe that a person from any walk of life will not find something they thoroughly enjoy here. I don't think it's possible, because like I said, there's so much to do for so many different types of people. I mean, if you just want to eat 5-star dining, they have it. If you want to go to a nice concert, they have it. Nice night on the town, they have it. You want to go ride rides, they have it. You want to go watch shows, they have it.
Well, you would think that, but do remember that we went out there with my little brother once, and he managed to be completely miserable. So.
Yeah, but that's also he was doing on purpose. Or it's those type of people, like, I even know some of the same people. They just won't admit that the place is that nice or the place is that great, or they got this set in their head that nothing's better than their little bitty town, and no matter how great something is, they won't admit it, and they won't let themselves actually enjoy it. And that's just a personal problem for them. But either way, they if they just let themselves go and just enjoy it, they would have a good time. But I don't know if I could pick three things. I me. I'm here. Not say most, but I said pretty much all of my Disney trips were always based around where I was eating. And there are a number of restaurants
That's
here.
your life.
Yeah, Disney has some of the best restaurants. Universal has some good restaurants, just not as many. Disney has so many great places to eat. So many great places to eat. I mean, they have their cheap, quick sandwich kind of places, that, ballpark, ish type of food. But, they have so many places that are so great on fine dining. I mean, I could go an hour just talking about those places, and I've been fortunate enough to eat at a number of places on Disney property.
Well, one day in the future.
Yeah, but yeah, definitely a different podcast.
I will say that my friend Tim Fletcher and his fiance are about to get married in 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going out to Disney. They're both Disney nuts, especially her. She grew up going, and they're staying at Art of Animation, which I've tried to impress upon her the necessity of making sure that she doesn't get Little Mermaid way in the back, and that she gets one of the newer ones. But I kept telling them, look, have you made your ADR for Via Napoli? And they're like, oh, not yet. And I'm like, you should really do that.
Yeah.
And
Canada.
they don't believe me.
Or I mean, like I said,
well, they've been to Le Cellier, but they have.
Okay.
I don't know if they've been to Florida. I think they have been since Via Napoli opened, but they've never been there. So I'm trying to impress upon them why they should definitely go there, like even just for lunch. It doesn't have to be for dinner.
Yeah, no, and like right now we went to on Thursday morning, I'm sorry. Me and the wife went to the campground area. They have a buffet at the little outpost area. Mm-hmm. And campground's a wonderful area. That was one thing I was not familiar with up until about a year ago. Not familiar at all. And went there. That place is an amazing place. I mean, you could literally live there your life and just never have to leave. They have everything to survive, food, it's entertainment, everything. I mean, you can spend 2 days just going through the campground and not even going to the parks. I mean, they have a beach area. They have horse rides. They have this wonderful place to eat. They have a show. They have all kinds of things. Outdoor theater shows 2 Disney movies every night. But yeah, it's we went there, and right now Cass gets 40% off of the bill. I'm not a Cass member, but my wife is, and so our bill was 40% off. And it's like you can't, and they let the cast know which restaurants are doing 40% as opposed to the typical 20% during certain times. But yeah, we went there on Thursday and had a great time. We're actually going back when Rebecca's family's in town next week. So, I think with tip and everything for the buffet costs, I think $24, which is not bad at all, especially for the amount of food that we got. And I love eggs Benedict, and I probably ate 6 of them. So in addition to all the food that I got, but yeah, other than that, I would just say You got to try Universal. I love Universal Studios, especially the strides that they've been making since that they pulled in Harry Potter. Before Harry Potter got there, I think what, 09, 10? I'm not sure. Wait, that can't be. I'm not sure what year. When did Harry Potter start
I think
there?
it's either 2011 or 2000. It's probably 2011 or 2012.
Yeah, it's been there a few years, but maybe not definitely not 09 or 10. Yeah, that's crazy. I really
Probably
didn't.
2011.
Yeah,
I'd guess.
yeah. Just seeing that place because actually, I've lived here and through '04 to '06 ish, and but just seeing the crowd levels and how much people are investing into Universal Studios now, it's night and day because I honestly didn't think they were going to make it before they put the money in for Harry Potter. I thought they were eventually going to close because it just didn't seem like there was enough people going that could support the parks. And but now it is a machine over there. It is just like the Disney machine. They're just cranking out hit after hit and doing things the right way, and they're listening to people. And Halloween Horror Nights is probably my favorite one night in a park period of any night if I had to pick one. But yeah, I would definitely say eat well at Disney. Do a Universal. Both parks Universal. And finally, I would probably say find something off of the park path, something local. Church Street is pretty cool. It's very uptownish. It's got a lot of great restaurants. It's a lot full of the hipsters, which I'm not a hipster, but they got a lot of cool stuff to do down there. And but I think that would be my three. Or you can switch that out and head over to Daytona Beach for Bike Week, which is insane. Or head over to Clearwater on the other side, the west side of Florida, the Gulf, and take up Clearwater. Clearwater is beautiful as well. So, like I said, that would be my top three, but I can go on and on.
Well, and if you were talking to some young person, male or female, that's hadn't heard about the college program, what would you tell them about?
Go single. Don't go with a boyfriend or a girlfriend. I had a friend that made that mistake. I told him to dump his girlfriend before he went, but she applied and they did it together. And I told him, I said, look, man, and he knew exactly after he finished his program, he made a mistake. And I told him for weeks, you got to let her go, man. Let her go. You're giving up on, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be, and you'll find each other when you come back. But he missed out on a lot of tail, as some of the people said.
Oh, nice,
Yeah.
romantic little interlude there. Like, oh yeah, maybe you're destined, but go get laid.
Yeah.
Well, personally, I'd probably tell people if they've never heard of the college program that it's it's definitely a tough time in your life. You're gonna have to work hard and you're gonna be poor, but it's easily one of the most rewarding things I've ever been through.
Yeah.
And,
I saved money. Like all my bills, I saved up in cash and gave my mom the money. And my mom paid my bills for me with my money that I saved, and gave to her. She paid my bills for me while I was out there. So I had 6 months of coverage. So it didn't matter how much money I made. I mean, I really didn't make a penny because everything I spent, and then some. But I went out there financially ready to take it in. Plus, like I said, we were 22, so I had a decent job going in, so I would say a decent job. I was doing well. I worked delivery for Papa John's, as you know, and I pocketed a lot of quick money, and it made it easy for me when I got there, so I didn't have to worry about the money. You got to go in knowing that you can support yourself for 6 months without making any money, and
it's not that hard if you don't have a lot of bills. But
no, not many 18 to 22-year-olds usually have a massive amount of bills. It's usually car note, cell phone,
Yeah,
if that. You don't even have student loans yet, because you're in school. You don't have a house note. Most of the time you don't live in an apartment, or if you do, you get out of it, or you live with your mom, or like I lived with my mom previously, or if you're at the dorm, you get out of the dorm and you go back when you get back in, So, it's just, I would suggest it for everybody. I know it's not for everybody because, I would hate to see it turn, them pulling in the wrong people that don't want to, give 110% on their job or be cheerful. I don't want them to see them, have a hiring of.
You don't want to see lazy, trashy people
exactly
in the parks.
No lazy, trashy people.
Well, I guess we'll probably cut out here so I can start editing. Thank you for coming on the show.
Anytime.
You're probably the most knowledgeable person that I know as far as Disney. I know quite a bit, but you've lived out there longer than I have, and it's. And you're one of my best friends anyway, so, I enjoy having you on the show. Next time we get you on, I will try and get the Rum Guy, so, but I really, Rum, if you're listening to this at all, I'm not trying to cut you out, but I did notice that you weren't online, and I just kind of wanted to have a conversation about something that we have a mutual experience, which unfortunately Rum never went to the college program, and I'm sure he regrets that now after listening to this wonderful episode.
Well, yeah, we didn't actually dip into many stories. We did avoid.
We got too many. We got
too many. That's all for another podcast. But at this point right now, if you have a future DCP program that involves the highlights of Disney, I say Disney food, eating the Disney. I like to say. I got plenty of insight, more than most people, and I'd be surprised how many people I meet here in Orlando that are so uneducated about what is here at Disney and what Disney offers, even at Universal. It's unbelievable how many people live here their entire lives and they don't experience these things. It frightens me. But yeah, like I said, let me know. It was a pleasure being on, and look forward to another show.
All right. This has been Radio DCP. You can contact the show. We have a Facebook page, which should be facebook.com/Radio DCP, as in Disney College Program. My Twitter handle is @uncle_reb, R-E-B. And we have an email, dcp7979@gmail.com. If you have any comments or questions, and honestly, if you're listening to this show, and I know, like Tim Fletcher, I mentioned, was telling me he was listening to the show just because he's as they're going to Disney, even though they've been many times, there's always new things to learn, and he's, you never know when I'll have a little bit of advice that you might have needed. But if you have any questions, and it doesn't have to be about Disney, you and I both know a lot about things besides Universal, places to go in Orlando, things to do in Orlando that don't involve theme parks. Mm-hmm. So
hotels at Disney as well as Universal, they have plenty of events and social gatherings. Downtown Disney has a car show coming up in June that I'm very excited for. Of course, there's going to be a little bit car themed, but the car shows they have out here are just incredible. Cars from all over the country, even some from other countries, show up at the car show. It's going to be one big show, and like I said, there's so many things going on. You just outside of the four parks. I mean, I love the four parks, but like I said, there's so many other things going on, people just don't even realize. We've made that mistake in the past. A lot of times we find out stuff was here or something on a different weekend, and you just all of a sudden you like, man, I wish I would have known that. But living here now, I take advantage of it. At least I'm trying to, and we'll make it happen.
All right. Well, thank you, Josh, for joining me. I don't remember what my sign off is for this thing, but thank you for joining us.
Take care.
Have a good night and have a magical day. There you go.
There you go.
Have a magical day.
All right, buddy.
All right.